My husband worked nights. For almost 2 years, I fell asleep alone. Then my neighbor knocked on my door. At first, it was completely innocent. A broken light, a package delivered to the wrong address, a quick conversation on a rainy evening. Nothing more. At least that's what I kept telling myself. But looking back now, I think the moment he learned my name was the moment everything started to change. And if I had known how this story would end, I never would have opened that door. My name is Sarah. I'm 31 years old, and for most people, my life probably looked perfect. I had a good husband, a beautiful home, a stable life, the kind of life people envy from the outside. The problem was that nobody saw what happened after midnight. 2 years earlier, my husband, Daniel, had accepted a management position at a distribution center outside the city. The pay was better, much better. The only downside was the schedule. Night shifts, 6 nights a week. At first, we thought we could handle it. We were wrong. The first few months weren't too bad. We still made time for each other. We still had dinner together. We still laughed. But slowly, things started changing. Daniel would come home exhausted. I would be leaving for work. When I got home, he was sleeping. When he woke up, I was busy. Weeks passed, then months. Eventually, our conversations became shorter than text messages. How was work? Fine. Did you eat? Yeah. See you tomorrow. It wasn't anyone's fault. That's what made it hurt even more. There was no betrayal. No fighting. No screaming. Just distance. The kind of distance that grows quietly until one day you realize you're living beside someone instead of with them. The hardest part wasn't being alone. The hardest part was feeling invisible. One night, I spent nearly an hour making Daniel's favorite dinner. I lit candles. I set the table. I wanted us to have one real evening together. He came home, looked exhausted, ate half the meal, then fell asleep on the couch. I sat there staring at the candles until they burned out. And for the first time in my marriage, I cried alone. Not because I was angry, because I missed my husband. Even though he was only a few feet away, that's when loneliness started becoming part of my daily life. And loneliness is dangerous. Not because it changes who you are, because it makes you notice people you would never have noticed before. I just didn't know that yet. I first met Ethan on a rainy Thursday night. Someone knocked on my door. When I opened it, I found a man holding a package. The delivery guy left this at my house, he said. The package was mine. I thanked him and reached for it. That should have been the end of our conversation. Instead, we talked for a few minutes. Nothing important. The weather, the neighborhood, how long we'd lived there. Before leaving, he smiled. I'm Ethan. I'm Sarah. For some reason, he repeated my name before walking away. Over the next few weeks, we kept running into each other. At the mailbox, in the parking lot, outside our homes. Each conversation was harmless. Simple, comfortable, but eventually I noticed something strange. Ethan remembered things. Small things. The presentation I had at work. The migraine I mentioned once. My favorite coffee. Things most people would forget. One evening, after a terrible day, I found a coffee hanging on my front door. There was no signature. Just a note. Thought you might need this. I knew exactly who had left it. And for the first time in months, I felt noticed. Not loved. Not desired. Just noticed. That night, while Daniel slept before work, I sat alone in the living room thinking about Ethan, not because I wanted him, but because I couldn't remember the last time someone had paid that much attention to me. And honestly, that realization scared me. A few months earlier, I never would have admitted it, but eventually I started looking forward to seeing Ethan. Not in a romantic way. At least that's what I kept telling myself. I simply enjoyed talking to him. The problem was that those conversations slowly became the best part of my day. One afternoon, I caught myself looking through the window to see if his car was parked outside. When I realized what I was doing, I immediately stepped away. It felt wrong. Why was I checking? Why did it matter? That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Have you ever missed someone you weren't supposed to miss? Someone who technically meant nothing to you? Because that's exactly how I felt. The next evening, Ethan knocked on my door. I smiled before I even opened it, and that scared me even more. We sat on the porch talking for almost an hour. Work, life, dreams, the kind of conversations Daniel and I hadn't had in a very long time. At one point, Ethan looked at me and asked a question, "Are you happy?" I laughed, not because it was funny, because nobody had asked me that in years, not even me. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Then I gave the safest answer possible. "Of course." Ethan nodded, but the look on his face told me he didn't believe me. And deep down, neither did I. After that conversation, things changed. Not between Ethan and me, between me and myself. For days, I couldn't stop thinking about his question. "Are you happy?" The more I thought about it, the more uncomfortable I became, because I didn't know the answer. I loved Daniel. I truly did. But somewhere along the way, our marriage had become a routine. We were partners, roommates, a team, everything except what we used to be. One evening, Daniel came home earlier than usual. I was excited. I thought maybe we'd finally spend time together. Instead, he sat down at the kitchen table, checked a few work emails, and fell asleep before we even finished dinner. I looked at him and felt something I never wanted to feel. Not anger, not resentment, sadness. The next day, Ethan knocked on my door. For the first time, I didn't open it. I stayed inside and waited until he left. I knew I needed space. I knew I was becoming too attached to those conversations. But avoiding him didn't make anything better. It only made me realize how lonely I had become. A week later, I finally saw him again. He smiled, then immediately noticed something was wrong. "Everything okay?" I wanted to say yes. Instead, tears filled my eyes. And before I could stop myself, I started crying. Not because of Ethan, not because of Daniel, because for the first time, I finally admitted the truth. I wasn't okay. And I hadn't been okay for a very long time. A few days later, Ethan asked if we could talk. We met outside just before sunset. I expected a confession, or maybe an apology. Instead, he surprised me. "Sarah," he said quietly, "I think you're waiting for someone to save you." I stared at him. He continued, "But I don't think that's what you need." I didn't understand. Not at first. Then he smiled sadly. "You don't need another person. You need your husband back." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Part of me wanted him to say something else. Something selfish. Something romantic. Something that would make this easier. But he didn't. And that's when I realized why I cared about him. Not because he wanted something from me. Because he didn't. He simply saw me, really saw me, more than anyone had in years. A week later, Daniel came home unexpectedly early. For the first time in months, we talked, really talked. Not about work, not about bills, about us, about what we had lost, about how lonely we both become. I learned something that night. Daniel wasn't happy either. He had been working himself to exhaustion because he thought providing for us was enough. Neither of us had realized how far apart we drifted. Slowly, things began to change. Not overnight, not magically. But they changed. Dinner together, movie nights, long conversations, small things, the things we'd forgotten. A month later, I noticed a moving truck parked outside Ethan's house. He was leaving. His mother had recovered and he had accepted a job in another city. When he saw me standing outside, he smiled. The same smile he'd given me the night we met. "I think you'll be okay," he said. I smiled back. For the first time, I believed it. Sometimes the people who change our lives aren't the people we end up with. They're the people who remind us what we've been missing. For a long time, I thought Ethan was the reason everything changed. But the truth is, he wasn't. He simply forced me to see a problem that had been there all along. The loneliness, the distance, the silence. And once I saw it, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I never fell in love with my neighbor. But because of him, I found my way back to the person I already loved. And sometimes, that's the happy ending nobody expects. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, and join Dark Whispers for more emotional stories, secrets, and life-changing choices. And tell me in the comments, if you were Sarah, would you have opened that door?